Understand decimal notation for fractions and compare decimal fractions. NC 4, NF 6. Use decimal notation to represent fractions. Express, model, and explain the equivalence between fractions with denominators of 10 and 100. Use equivalent fractions to add two fractions with denominators of 10 or 100. Represent tenths and hundredths with models, making connections between fractions and decimals. Rosetta has 1/8 of a meter of ribbon. However, the directions for her craft product have directions written about hundredths of a meter. What is an equivalent decimal to 8/10 to the hundredths place? And this is a possible response from a student. I shaded in 8 columns on the decimal grid. That is the same as 80 100ths, which can also be written as 8/10 or 80 hundredths. So look here. That's 1/10 or 10 hundredths, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, 5/10, 6/10, 7/10, 8/10. So 8/10 looks like this, but it also is 80 hundredths. It's 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. So that's 80 hundredths. Now looking at this problem, Mitch swam 5/10 of a mile on Saturday and 39 hundredths a mile on Sunday. How much did Mitch swim on the 2 days? Use a decimal grid to show your answer and write your answer as a decimal. So 5/10, it's 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, 5/10. That's 39 hundredths. That's 10, 20, 30, 39. 89 of the 100 squares are shaded, so Mitch swam 89 hundredths of a mile. I could also write 89 hundredths as 89 hundredths. All right, the other part of the standard about decimals is NC 4, NF 7. Compare two decimals to hundredths by reasoning about their size using area and length models and recording the results of the comparison with the symbols greater than, equal, or less than. Recognize that comparisons are valid only when the two symbols refer to the same whole. So it has to refer to the same whole. So Sarah drinks 37 hundredths liters of juice. Rochelle drinks 4/10 liters of juice. Or if I know that it has to refer to the same whole, I'm going to go ahead and read it. Rochelle drinks 40 hundredths liters of juice, because the comparison says Sarah drinks 37 hundredths liters of juice. 40 hundredths is the same thing as 4/10. Who drank more juice? Draw a picture and explain your reasoning. Possible response: Sarah, 37 units are filled in. 40 units are filled in. Looking at what is filled in the picture, who actually drank the most? Rochelle. Sarah drank 37 hundredths of a liter, while Rochelle drank 4/10 or 40 hundredths of a liter. Rochelle drank more. Dinar lives 67 kilometers from school, and Calvin lives 76 kilometers from school. Draw a number line to show who lives the farthest from school. Possible student responses. And notice that number line, same thing if it was fractions. That would be 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, 5/10, like Drew, 5/10, 6/10, 7/10, and 8/10. And this is 1/10. That decimal, 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, 5/10, 6/10. And it shows here he lives 67 kilometers. So we know that's between 6/10 and 7/10. And Calvin lives 76 kilometers. So that's between 7/10 and 8/10. Now it says draw a number line to show who lives the farthest. So based on this number line, we could tell that who lives the farthest, Calvin or Denard. Hopefully you said Calvin, because 76 hundredths is closer to 1 than 67 hundredths. Denard lives 67 hundredths of a kilometer away, which is less than 7/10 of a kilometer. Calvin lives 76 hundredths of a kilometer away, which is greater than 7/10. Calvin lives farther from school than Denard. This is all equivalent. 3/10, 3/10, 30 hundredths, 30 hundredths. So if I shade in 3/10, it will be 1/10, 2/10, and 3/10. If I shade in 30 hundredths, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's a 10th. 1/10, 2, 4, 5. Same thing all the way down. Same thing all the way down. And that should be 30 individuals. So that's 30 hundredths. That's 3/10. Notice that I'm shading the same amount. Just imagine that I drew these exactly accurate. This is based on my drawing, but they're supposed to be equal. That's 3/10. That's 30 hundredths, all shaded the same. So if I had to add 3/10 and 30 hundredths, I would basically use that 3/10. I will make sure it's lined up. It's 30 hundredths. I added a 0 here to make it line up correctly. 30 hundredths plus 30 hundredths equals 60 hundredths or 6/10. So here, if I want to do the fraction, I would do the same thing. 3/10 plus 30 hundredths. I need to make this hundredths, so I will add a 0 here and add a 0 to the top. Add it together, I get 60 hundredths. And that's equivalent to 60 hundredths. That's tenths, hundredths, tenths, hundredths. Later on, you'll learn that you add another 0, and that makes it thousandths, tenths.
Place value for decimals is tenths, hundredths, thousandths. Place value for decimals is tenths, hundredths, thousandths. Place value for decimals is tenths, hundredths, thousandths. Fourth grade only focus on tenths and hundredths. Tenths and hundredths. Place value for decimals is tenths, hundredths, thousandths.
Place value for decimals is tenths, hundredths, thousandths. Place value for decimals is tenths, hundredths, thousandths. Place value for decimals is tenths, hundredths, thousandths. So the place value, you find the decimal, wherever the decimal is. The first one after the decimal is the tenths. The second one after the decimal is hundredths. Place value for decimals is tenths, hundredths, thousandths. THS at the end of those words.